What up, Stackers? Big Stack McGee here. How are you doing today? It is Saturday, May 8th, and in a moment I'm going to show you the difference between a 2013 Silver Britannia and a 2021 Silver Britannia. I'm also want to talk a little bit about a discussion I had with my sons as they're starting up a lawn mowing business and my first job and some of the lessons that I learned from doing that. But first to the coins here. Let me zoom in a little bit here. All right, so right here in this 2013, same design, but mirror finish on everything. Okay, and in 2021, they really enhanced some of those backfields, and of course the person stands in relief to that. Just a beautiful coin. Show the other side here. Again, mirror finish. Okay. And then all right, so my two sons have started a lawn mowing business in our subdivision. They've got a good name for themselves over the last year. They were hired by a couple of different neighbors to mow lawns, and one goes with a little push mower and mows, and the other one does all the weed whacking and trimming up and that stuff, and then they blow all the clippings and stuff like that, and they do a really nice job. And so we're having a discussion about, hey, it's Saturday and you have a couple lawns to mow. Let's get to it. And they kind of want to do it when they feel like it. And so we talked about, the courtesy of like, let's make sure we're not mowing while your customers perhaps could be eating supper or something like that. It's just good. It's good courtesy to do it earlier. They couldn't seem to wrap their brains around. They're like, we have all day. Why do I have to do this? And it brought up the subject of my first job. My first job was I was a newspaper delivery boy, and I was 12 years old when I started. And I was thrilled because when I was growing up, you had to be a minimum of 16 to get a job, or 15 if you had a work permit. Your parents would allow it, but you couldn't work at a grocery store or anything like that, unless your family owned it. And so I was thrilled at the opportunity to earn some money. And I just in recounting some of this during my story to my children, it just occurred to me how crazy it was, the situation, and how hard I worked for very little money. I'm not sure how it's done now, and obviously newspapers are probably on the way out. I haven't bought a newspaper in years and years, but when I was a kid, what I had to do is I'd get the newspapers delivered to me by the distributor on my front step early in the morning, and then every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, I had to deliver newspapers. Not only did I have to deliver them before school, I also had to collect from the customers. I'd have to go door to door once a month and collect money. And then at the end of the month, I had to take all the money I collected, and I'd have to go to the distributor's place, and I would have to pay my bill for the newspapers, and I got to keep the difference. And this was extremely hard work, especially in the winter. Sometimes it could be 20 below zero, and I still had to trudge through the snow delivering those newspapers. And what's interesting in going back and kind of rediscovering some of the stuff from when I was a kid, if everything worked perfectly, and I had about 60 different places I had to deliver to, it took me probably about 45 minutes to make my rounds. Sometimes less if it was a nice day and I could go up, ride my bike, and I, put the newspapers in the baskets or something like that. But what would happen is after I would collect, and it was really tough sometimes to collect money. You go and people wouldn't answer the door, or they didn't feel like it, and it wasn't very much money, especially for people that just ordered the weekly, or sometimes people just would get the Saturday or the Sunday, and I had to keep track of who got what and all that kind of business. For a 12-year-old, that's it's a challenge to kind of keep track of everything and then to execute the delivery. But on a perfect month, if everybody paid and all that kind of business, I could earn maybe 60 or 70 bucks a month. And I was thrilled with that, because that's a lot of money for a kid, And I remember my parents had told me you have to save half, but the other half you can save towards something you want or whatever. And so I decided to save half, which I eventually put in my savings account to be spent on college later. But the half that I, which also went in the savings account, that I would kept track, I ended up buying my first stereo in high school with that money, and I was so proud of that. The very first thing I got was a receiver and the two tower speakers, and I didn't even have, a record player or a cassette tape or anything like that because I couldn't afford it at the time. But I would just listen to the radio on my nice stereo, and I loved it. But the typical month for me, especially because there would be people not home or they wouldn't pay, and it's always in cash that they would pay. And sometimes I got stiffed. People would, 3 months in a row not pay, and then all of a sudden I find out they left town or something like that. And who eats the cost on that? The paperboy does. So it was a really, really challenging situation to try to go around and collect money from people that don't want to spend money. Especially we had a lot of older people that I would deliver to, and they'd be like, "My Social Security hasn't come yet," and at that time, I remember as a child thinking, how can someone not afford a newspaper if they want it? What's this like for old people? Because I didn't understand that, some people don't save for the future, essentially, or they don't have the ability to, or they don't have enough wealth generation and all that kind of business. But some months, I would earn, less than the value of one of these silver coins. And looking back, right now it's like especially with the amount of money that I make and the not being in debt and all that kind of stuff, I don't blink at spending money on a coin like this. But back in the day, to work an entire month of effort for something that is probably at the time would be worth a lot less. I look back and I'm just grateful for that opportunity because I learned a lot in having to work when I didn't feel like it and having to execute and turn on, the drive to be able to get something done, even if I wasn't feeling good. There's times where I had to deliver sick. There's times where I mentioned it was really, really, really cold. I remember one specific situation that you'll enjoy this. I was riding my bike, and it was the winter time, but it was early in the morning, and there was a fresh thing of snow on the ground and stuff like that. But I had a nice dirt bike, and I thought I could do okay with that. I was driving down the road to get to the area where I deliver, and a car was streaking down behind me, did not see me, and I swerved over to the right to get out of the way, and I smashed into one of those multi-family steel and concrete mailbox units, and I wrapped my bike around it, bent the wheel at an angle, hit my head, and the last thing I remember before I passed out on the ground was seeing all my newspapers fly away in the wind and the snow. And I was probably just stunned for a little bit. Got up, picked up my bike, and whatever newspapers I could salvage, I had to carry it home. And I remember I have to deliver the newspaper. And so my dad, he took me in the truck to the town, and we ended up buying the missing newspapers that I needed. That the other ones were ruined, and delivered them that way. And he took me around, and I'll just never forget that idea of duty of like, I got to get this done. But that work ethic, I think really stuck with me my entire life. And so one of the things I'm trying to teach my children when it comes to earning money, especially with the first job, is you don't just do the job, you do it to the best of your ability in the best way that you can, take more on. And I think that attitude will help so much in life when you don't just do the minimum, you do the best job you can always. And that stuck with me from being a kid. But anyway, I just wanted to share that story from when I was a kid and being a newspaper boy. After that, I ended up getting a job at a grocery store as a bagger and cart collector and stocking the shelves and all that kind of business. And I look back fondly at those years of working very hard and earning very little, but it did teach me the value of wealth. And so just want to share that little story with you, and I hope that you guys are having a fantastic weekend out there. We'll be back with you soon. I have an order that should be arriving for next week, a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for checking this out. This is Big Stack McGee. You guys have a fantastic weekend. Take care.